In this video, I'm gonna walk you through the exact process I took to get a six-figure salary or more on 3 separate occasions, having never done the job before, and even though the job description says you need experience. Now I know, for many of you watching, you may be like, 6 figures, that's nothing. But for many of you watching, that may be a lot of money. Now this video is broken down into 3 parts. Before applying to the job, and then interview and negotiation. Okay, so let's start with your mindset. Let me ask you a question. If you wanted to learn how to play basketball, who would you rather learn to play basketball from? Somebody that's actually played in the NBA or an NBA coach that's never played in the NBA? Think about that for a second while I take a sip of my coffee. My guess is you're probably going to be like, well, the NBA player. Why though? Why is it that you want to learn from somebody that's played in the NBA? It's because they've actually done something in the real world. So while the coach may know more of the X's and the O's and read a lot of frameworks and, did a lot of studying and all that stuff, you don't really give a shit. You're like, but I want to learn from the guy or girl that's actually played pro. I want to see what that is like. Experience is subjective, meaning it's up for interpretation. It's up for debate. When you're applying is the same thing. You don't need to have all the requirements that they say you do because that's what NBA coach is like. As long as you can convey that you've played in the real world, that you've actually played in the NBA, which I'm going to show you how to do, don't worry. That's all that matters. And my guess is, again, I'm assuming you answered that you would rather learn from an NBA player. The fact that you admitted that means that it's more attractive to you. It's almost you're more curious to learn from somebody that's actually played in the NBA. If you thought that, they're gonna think that too. It's just about how you communicate that. Okay? So I just want you to hold that thought in your mind. Experience is subjective. Just because it says that they need a certain number of years of experience doesn't mean it's always true. You can communicate your experience just like somebody that's playing in the NBA. At the end of the day, you just need one phone call. That's it. Or one email reply. So I will show you how to convey that you have experience, but that's all you need. You just need that one first point of contact, and then I'm going to show you how to do the rest. Okay? All right, so let's cover now the next step here. How do you convey that, while you don't have years of experience, you have the attractive qualities like an NBA player? How do you do that? You start a project. That is how you convey experience. You build something, okay? But it doesn't even have to be over the top. For the most part, I'm gonna show you some examples. You just need a website. That's it. But when you create something of your own, again, you don't even have to make money off this. You just need something tangible to show them because it shows leadership skills. It shows that you're taking initiative. It shows that you're creative. It shows that you follow through. It shows that you have a plan and you can execute. And so many other qualities. I'm just naming a few off the top of my head. But the point is, when you start something and you can show tangible proof, that's very attractive because the people that are competing for these jobs, most of them are still following the 1995 traditional way of applying where they're like, well, you got to stay at a job for 3 years before you go to the next job. And, well, this job says you need 5 years experience. I must have 5 years of experience. That's straight up bullshit. You don't need that. I'm telling you, you don't need that. Just build something. By the way, before I show you some sample projects, it's better that whatever you pick is something you're passionate about. Let me just show you. So let's say, for example, and again, I will have all of this, everything that I'm screen sharing with you, I will have a link at the end of the video, in case I didn't say this already. I'll have a link at the end of the video where you can download all this stuff, so you don't have to take notes. I mean, take notes if you want to, but I'm going to give you all this stuff for free anyways. So these are some project examples, okay? So I'm assuming now, again, I can't cover every scenario here, but let's just pretend that you either want to get into software engineering, marketing, operations, or design. Here are some sample projects you could potentially tackle. Software engineering, you can make a Chrome extension from scratch, right? Make something, solve a problem, make something useful. Even if it doesn't make money, like I said, that doesn't matter. Build a custom website. Build a custom website So not like Squarespace or WordPress, but something where you actually had to code. Show them something that you've built. If you want to get into marketing, maybe you start with a website, a landing page, an opt-in form where someone fills in their information, and a nice email automation funnel. Okay, there's tutorials all day long for free on YouTube on how to do this stuff. Or you start a blog and show off your writing, show off your copywriting, show your way of thinking and how your style of writing is humorous and funny. And it doesn't matter. Operations, create a project, manage that project with a project management software. Design, create some logos. Maybe you create a Fiverr account and you show that you've worked with customers and you've made some customers really happy and they've become repeat customers. Do you see where we're going with this? You just want to show tangible proof that you have built something in the real world that mirrors to some extent what they want in the job, right? And you are becoming the NBA player, not the NBA coach when you do this. So you will become a very attractive applicant. And in addition to that, you will become very unique because most people never do this. They do the standard thing. Here's my resume. Here's my cover letter. Here's all the jobs I've done. Boring. All right. I'm trying to make you not boring. All right. So you start a project. That is how you convey your experience. Again, we're going to follow through. So I'm going to show you some, in addition to this, what you need to do. Very high level. This is pretty much the basis of how you stand out and how you convey experience. You want to do something along these lines. You can also use ChatGPT, ask it to give you some example. You know what? Let's just do it. I'm just going to show you. You know what? Forget it. Let's just go through some examples of, let's say, I don't know. Let's say you want to get into DevOps or AI or data engineering. So I could just do something like, give me some sample projects I could build in the AI, data engineering, or DevOps space that wouldn't take me longer than a month. Let's see what it says. All right, so you get the idea. Use ChatGPT to your disposal as much as you want. I'm just showing you stuff that I've used in the past. So I've switched careers 3 times. I've gone from sales. By the way, I'm not doing this to show off by any means. This is nothing to show off. I'm just explaining to you that I've done this in the real world and it's worked 3 times for me. I've gone from sales to software engineering by creating an iPhone app. Then I went from software engineering to marketing by starting a blog. Okay? And then I also went from marketing to a more specific niche area of marketing, a separate specific department, if you will, by starting a video production agency on the side. Okay? And I've been able to convey the value that I've done through the projects that I've shown in the real world. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You just need to build something. In addition to starting a project, what you're going to want to do is educate yourself as much as possible. Because you haven't done this job per se in the real world, although you have because you built a project, you want to just educate yourself as much as you can about the role the traditional way. So let's say, for example, if you want to learn how to be a product manager, okay? I would find the top 5 books in product management and I would read maybe 1 or 2 of them, okay? Yeah, that means you're going to have to stop watching Netflix on the weekends. I get that. But that's what you're going to have to do. In addition to the project, you read 1 to 2 books on the specific role that you want. Because when it comes to the interviewing, when it comes to explaining what the job is, you're going to blow them away with your knowledge because it's going to sound, and I've been told this, it sounds like you've done this job before, Payam. I've been told this exact line multiple times. Why? Because I've read the book on how to do the job. So let's just do like an exercise here. Let me go to Amazon, for example. And let's say, as you can tell, I've been looking for some fire pits. Let's say you want to get, okay, so we're going to go with the product management or the product manager job, right? So books on product manager. Let's see what comes up. Okay. Um, the product book, How to Become a Great Product Manager. That's one. 754 reviews. I mean, that's pretty good. API fundamentals. So if you don't know anything about code, but you need to know some lingo in that department, that's another good book you could read. Let's see what else. Cracking the PM interview. This is a book that I've heard multiple times. So I would personally, if I want to be a product manager, just skimming this for less than 60 seconds, I'd probably read this book just based off the number of reviews, and I have heard of this book before, and I'd probably read this one, right? I don't know. The point is, find whatever you want, educate yourself. That's what I'm trying to communicate here to you is that in addition to the project, you educate yourself as if you have done this job before the traditional way in the real world, okay? By the way, if you're not a big reader, first off, I suggest you read because it's just a valuable skill. You can also watch YouTube videos. I'm not saying that you can't, but reading is a little bit different because I just find that for stuff like this, the books tend to go a little deeper than the videos would. I could be wrong, but that's my experience, okay? All right, that is step one. This is before applying. So, again, you are changing your mindset about what experience means. That is so key because that is the foundation that you need to start this process. Then you are starting a project in the world of whatever it is you want to do, something in that department, something that's tangible that you can show. You can use the examples I shared. I just made those up. Or you can use ChatGPT, or you can be creative. I'm sure you're creative. It's just maybe dormant and you haven't activated it. Come up with something else. At minimum, though, I would highly suggest you have a website because it's just much more professional. Okay. And then thirdly, you are educating yourself in addition to building a project. So not only are you educating yourself the real world way by building something, you're also learning the traditional route. So you have both bases covered. Okay? That is what you do before you apply. Now let's cover how you apply to the job. I would choose a smaller company if possible. You'll find that smaller companies are just easier to apply to because they respect what you're doing. They like that you take initiative and you're just not another ant. You're just not another follower doing what everybody else does, getting in line, never breaking the rules. You took initiative. You had balls. You had a proactive ability in your personality. You did something without being told what to do, right? People love that, especially at a smaller company. So that's what I'm trying to convey here, okay? All right, so let me show you now. Once you've found the job that you want, you can use a Chrome extension called Hunter to find the pattern of the email address of people that work there. The reason you're going to want to do this is because once you apply, we're going to cover this in a second, don't worry. Once you apply, you're going to want to follow up with these people, okay? So it's a super handy Chrome extension. You'll see I have it right here already. It's called Hunter. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to work at GoPro, I'll go to the GoPro website and then I'll click the Hunter icon and it'll show me email addresses of people that work there, okay? So then once you know that, it'll also show you, by the way, the pattern of the email address, which is super handy. So first initial, the first name, last name at GoPro.com. The reason you do this is because once you apply, you use this pattern in conjunction with the person's name that you find on LinkedIn that is a recruiter at the company. So you apply, you go to LinkedIn, you find the name of the recruiter there, or you could just do it in like a Chrome browser. You could just be like, you could just be like recruiter at GoPro. Let's do recruiter at GoPro LinkedIn. Let's see what comes up. There you go. Elizabeth, Samuel, Darren. Now that you have these names, you just go back to GoPro, you press the Hunter icon, and then you see the email pattern. So then once you apply, you just send them a follow-up email, okay? I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but I just want to show you that there is this tool that you have at your disposal. Next, once you've worked on your project, I suggest you have something tangible. I would spend at least a month minimum, if not longer, working on this. Then you're going to want to add that project to your resume. Okay. Now I'm going to give you just a sample way of doing this. But basically, what you would, and this is not a resume format I would follow by any means, it's just something that I found as a template. Once you have your resume, you're going to want to add the links to your projects inside. So once you download this as a PDF, so you go to file, this is Google Docs, by the way, in case you didn't know, download PDF. When you do that, these links become clickable. So when you send them your resume, they're not going to have to type this in to the URL. That's lame. They're just going to have to click this link and it'll take them to your project. I suggest that you also have a video. Okay? This is a little bit more advanced, but within your website, if you can have a video of yourself in some place, maybe the about section or something like that, not only does it show that you've taken initiative with the project, but they can see you and they can see how you talk and they can see, all right, this person's professional. I like how they carry themselves. I like how they present themselves on camera, what have you. I like how they speak, right? So just a little bit of an advanced tip there. If you can, add a link to your website and maybe a link to your video as well, okay? And then make sure when you apply to this job, you send it as a PDF so they can click the link, okay? So then, we've covered now, you apply to a small company, you add the project to your resume, then you find the person that works there using the Hunter extension, right? After that, you follow up with them, assuming you have not heard back, okay? Now, I have some scripts on exactly how to do this. So you could do something like this. These are just some examples, okay? You don't have to follow this to the T by any means. Personally, I would do something along these lines. 24 hours after applying, I would be like, "Hey, let's say the guy's name is or girl's name is Elizabeth. All right, let's just rock with Elizabeth." I'd be like, "Where am I at here? Can't even find a damn thing." Okay. Oh, here it is. So I'd be like, "Hey, Elizabeth, hope all is well. I recently applied for the position at GoPro, and I wanted to check in on the status of my application." You then want to add the links to your resume, cover letter, if that's your jam. These days it feels more optional, but if you got something you want to say, by all means, I'm not going to stop you. Cover letter it up, do whatever you need to do. And then click here to see the latest project that I worked on. So you want to add the links easily accessible. You want to mitigate how much work you make the recruiter do. This is so important from a psychological perspective. People don't understand this. They'll just send them like a 5-page cover letter, 2-page resume. Dude, nobody is reading your shit. Nobody. They're skimming your resume at best. You're lucky that they even look at your resume, right? So you want to make it super easy. Don't make them think. Put it super easy for them. All right, so they can click it. Excited to hear back, okay? That's what I would do 24 hours after applying. Assuming you haven't heard back, I would then follow up after 48 hours. Something along these lines. "Hey, Elizabeth, circling my last message to the top of your inbox in case you missed it." All right? Classy, professional. Now, if you've sent these 2 messages and you haven't heard back, I would reach out to another recruiter, okay? And maybe then you could do it through LinkedIn. You don't have to necessarily email. It's up to you. Okay, so this is the process I would take once you apply and you've sent them the project that you've worked on, okay? Again, at a smaller company, you're going to have more success because they're a little bit more malleable, flexible with their requirements, but it doesn't matter. These techniques can work at any company, okay? All right, so that is applying to the job. Okay, now we are in the final stage here. Interview and negotiation. So, like I mentioned before, you want to show that you're confident, creative, a great communicator, and ultra prepared. Ultra prepared. So, how do we show that we're prepared? Number one, you need to be a great communicator. How do you convey you're a great communicator if you're not? Or if you just don't believe you are? Or maybe your English is a little bit dusty. I don't know, right? Let me show you. So the way that I would do this, number one, is assuming that now you've had some contact from them and that you have one interview lined up. This is going to be the initial interview from the recruiter. Normally, the recruiter is going to call to make sure that you are a good conversationalist, you know about the job, salary expectations, did you pick up the phone on time, these type of things. Okay, so how do we show that you're ultra prepared? Simple, we prepare. So how do you do that? I would suggest that you know your story inside out, okay? And you know your story by answering these 5 questions, okay? Because you know that you're going to get some of these questions guaranteed in the interview. All right? It's almost 100% guarantee that some of these questions are going to be asked even in that first initial contact, okay? So I have a separate document on this. Again, it's going to be in the link at the end of this video or in the description, one of these two. These are the questions you need to know inside and out. Tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work here? Why should we hire you? What do you like to do in your spare time? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Okay. Now, again, I'm not a magician. I don't know exactly what the hell they're going to ask you and what they're going to say verbatim. But I'm confident this first one, they're going to fucking guaranteed ask you that. It may not be like, tell me about yourself. It may be like, hey, what's up? Or maybe like, tell me about your experience. Or maybe like, so what have you done? Or maybe like, so what's going on? It doesn't matter. You just want to be prepared for this question, okay? Now, the way that I would emphasize, or what I want to emphasize and how you answer this is super important. Because again, we want to show that you're a good communicator. You need to have this already done in advance. You need to write this out. And you can do it within this template. That's why I've done this, to give you an example of like how you can do this. And you want to start chronologically from what you've done. I don't know how old you are, but assuming you just graduated high school or college a few years ago, right after college, where you've worked, where you worked after that, where you worked after that, and where you are today with your project. Okay, so you start chronologically so that when you get asked this question, you're not like, well, 3 years ago I was at Roundtable, then about 2 months ago I started this project, but then actually after I graduate, you sound stupid. You sound dumb. How do you not sound dumb? Know your fucking story, right? That's it. You know you're going to get this question. It's guaranteed you're going to get this question. So know it and explain your story in a chronological way. From the past up until today. So when they say, hey, tell me about yourself. Sure, let me start back with when I graduated college. I did this for 2 years. Then I did this for 1 year. Then I did this for 2 years. And then I started this project 3 months ago. And this is where I'm at, right? So something along those lines. I gave you an example here. Sure, I'll start after I graduated from school. And then I started working here, blah, blah, blah. So I gave you an example here. This is just an example. Your job is to write your story chronologically from the past up until today, okay? Because when you answer this question on the call or Zoom call or face-to-face, whatever, it shows a structured mindset. It shows that you are prepared. It shows that you're a good communicator. Like the example I just gave, the shitty example, no one's gonna wanna work with someone that can't answer a simple question of, tell me about yourself. Like that's going to be a horrible person to work with. But if you can answer it in a systematic way that's easy to digest and understand, you'll know that you did a good job because after that, they'll be like, wow, thank you for that great overview. That's usually a sign that you've done an excellent job answering that question, okay? So the second question you really want to have prepared is, why do you want to work here? So let's use the GoPro example. So you could say, assuming of course you want to work at GoPro, you could say, well, I've always had an eye for aesthetics and photography. Since I was 7, my mom used to always show me her photography. And since then, I fell in love. And then as I got older, I borrowed my sister's camera. I took it out one day, and it just changed how I felt about cameras and photography and capturing memories. And I love the mission at GoPro. And that's why I want to work here. I want to work here more than anything else, because it aligns with my values, right? Something along those lines. You want to connect your values to the job. And in that conversation, if you find the time appropriate, you could also say, let's say again, the recruiter's name is Elizabeth. And that's why, Elizabeth, I started this project 3 months ago. I wanted to show how capturing your experiences and publishing them for the world can change the way people live their life. I'm just giving you an example, right? But that's why you have the project, because now you can talk about it in the interview, okay? All right, that's question number 2. Question number 3, why should we hire you? So you want to lean into your strengths and into your project, okay? I give you an example here. I believe 3 things make me great fit for this position. Great communication and interpersonal skills. You're already communicating that as a byproduct just by how you answer these questions, but it's something you want to emphasize. Add whatever strengths as well that tie into their job requirements. So you're going to want to look at the job description again and see, okay, well, what are they looking for? How do I connect what I know I'm good at to what they're looking for? And you just bridge those two, okay? So you want to add that for point number 2 or point number 3. You just want to try to add as much as you can the verbiage from which they're looking, from which is on their job description, so that as you talk to them, subconsciously, they're like, oh, this person actually does fit this job because you're just nailing. There's some shitty snaps, right? What the hell? There we go. It's a little bit better. You want to basically connect what you've done and articulate it in a way so that when you talk to them, they're like, wow, we actually are looking for somebody like this. And this is done automatically, subconsciously for them, right? Finally, when they ask why should we hire you, I would definitely suggest you answer something along these lines. I really want to be at this company. I really want to be at GoPro. I love the technology. I've seen what you guys have done over the span of 10 years, and this aligns with my values. This is the job that I want. You just want to emphasize passion. Okay, so assuming you answer this in 3 questions, talk about your communication skills, maybe your project, talk about your strengths and how it ties into what they're looking for. You're going to have to reference the job description for that. And then you want to talk about how badly you want to be at this company. And again, hopefully you already want to be at this company, right? Okay, that's question number 3. What do you like to do in your spare time? It should mirror to some degree what it is that this company does. If it's GoPro, you like to take photography, you love videography, but you're semi new to it. You have an eye for aesthetics. You love new technology, something along these lines. Okay. What are your strengths and weaknesses? I'm just going to give you a couple examples. I'm not going to touch on this too long. I would definitely say you're ambitious, you're hungry to learn. You're already communicating that through your project, but just emphasize that again. You're great at taking feedback. Another huge people skill, if you want, and something that's valuable these days more than ever. When it comes to weaknesses, this is a little bit tricky. I would just say whatever it is that's true about you, but reframe it and find the positive angle. So for example, if you get overwhelmed easily or you deal with a lot of anxiety like me, you could be like, I can get overwhelmed when I start a new job, but I'm quick to learn and can easily catch on and be coached. So you are answering the question and showing your weakness, but you're finding the positive angle and you're also communicating how you've solved the problem. Okay. So again, you're showing that you're proactive in finding a solution. Another great quality. Okay. So these are the 5 questions that I would know inside and out. Okay. At the end of the day, in this first conversation, you want to make sure that when they get off the phone with you, this is called, I don't know, I actually don't know if this is what it's called. I call it the beer test. You want them to think, man, I would love grabbing a beer with this guy or girl. That's that's the kind of personality you want to convey. So you're not a robot, you have personality, you show your personality, but you're also personable and professional and classy. Does that make sense? When I worked at a sales job, I don't know, 3,000 years ago, I I remember somebody had mentioned that to me. They were like, when it comes up to you and some other guy, you just want the recruiter to think, who would I rather grab a beer with? Because at the end of the day, if it comes down to you and one other applicant, and that other applicant has the more traditional experience, which, as we both have discussed at this point, is straight up bullshit. if they rather grab a beer with you, you will be the one that's hired. Hmm? In other words, you're the one that's more human. You're the one that they'd rather hang out with. And that is so important these days. Okay? I would not underestimate that. So, just something to keep in mind. Okay, so those are the 5 questions that I would know inside and out. Now, on the theme of being over prepared, you're going to want to show that you have a plan of how you're going to attack this job when you start. A 30, 60, 90-day plan communicates that. It shows what you're going to do the first 30 days, the next 30 days, and then the final 30 days, the first 3 months. And you've shown this through a document. Again, over prepared. You've thought this through. You know what you're going to do once you step in for 3 months. Do you understand how amazing that is and how few people do that? Most people would never do that. But the fact that it shows that you've researched the job, you've thought about the company, you've thought about, okay, I'm going to start this new position. How am I going to attack it? What am I going to communicate with my manager? What are the touch points? Blah, 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 all that stuff. You show a level of professionalism that it does not matter what kind of experience, the traditional experience you have, because it shows that you're a fucking pro. Okay? So let me show you an example of this. This I used a while ago for a job. I believe the salary was 180K. And this is the exact 30, 60, 90-day plan I used, okay? And I'm laughing because you're going to see it's not rocket science. It's relatively simple, okay? Now, I don't want you to copy this verbatim. You're going to have to use it for your own thing, right? But let me show you. So it's like a simple document. Let me see. It was just 2 pages, okay? So 30, 60, 90-day plan, the date prepared by your name, prepared for your manager's name, whoever your manager is going to be, okay? First 30 days, be a sponge and learn as much as possible. Meet with your manager to identify top priorities for the position, what's new, what's expected of me at GoPro, how to become a star, whatever it is, the role that you want, right? Gain an understanding of the fundamentals, understand how to integrate technology, answer questions, and present solutions. This is where you're going to look at the job description and you're going to match some of the keywords here, okay? Some of these are just literally you can copy and paste. Listen, take notes, and add value as much as possible in meetings. That's just a great quality anybody should have, generally speaking. But the fact that you're putting it on paper means that you're thinking about it. And if you're thinking about it, that means you're more likely to do it, which then means the recruiter feels like you will actually succeed and be a long-term employee at the company, which makes them look good. So it's a win-win for everybody. Do you see how this is all connected? Okay. Finally, after the 30 days, I'm not going to read through this line by line. You're not 10 years old. I mean, I hope you're not. But if you are, whatever. Finally, at the end of the 30 days, meet with, let's say your boss's name is George. Meet with George for a first 30-day review. Confirm that I am focusing on the right activities and modify where necessary. Assuming you're on the second interview and it's George that you're talking to, when George is reading this, he's going to be like, holy fuck. This guy or girl is so prepared that, oh my God, this person's going to make my life so much easier. Okay, so that's the 30 days. You can read through the 60 days, 90-day plan whenever you want. If you're struggling with that, you can also use ChatGPT. So for example, you could say something like, give me a 30, 60, 90-day plan for a software engineer job at GoPro that's not more than 2 pages. I would not copy and paste this, by the way. This should just give you some ideas, okay? So there you go. I mean, I wish ChatGPT was around when I was making some of this stuff on my own. But you can take some of these, copy, paste, make it your own, okay? So that's the 30, 60, 90-day plan, all right? Now, also, in addition to that, by showing you're over-prepared, because remember, that's the theme we want to communicate, if there's stuff you see, like for example, if you are applying for a software engineer job at GoPro and you notice something buggy, or you notice like the form doesn't work, there's a glitch with something, and you know it has to do with code, I would tell them that at some point during the interview because it shows that you're proactive. It's a very desirable skill. So if you can communicate that you've actually researched the company, super, super attractive, okay? I would definitely do that at any point that you can. You want to know the interviewers, of course. You want to know them inside and out. You want to check their LinkedIn. You want to know where they've worked. You want to know their hobbies if you can find out from their LinkedIn, so that when you're talking to George, let's just rock with that George example. You're like, hey, George, yeah, nice to meet you. I saw on your LinkedIn that you like to golf on the weekends. How's that going for you these days? It just shows that you have done your homework. Okay, so now we are at the last stage, and that is to sell yourself. All right, so when you're going through these interviews with the recruiter, with George as an example, or with anybody else, you want to ask good questions, and in addition to that, you want to sell yourself. So I'm confident that whoever is interviewing you at some point is going to ask, do you have any questions for us? Just like I said, you should know your story. You should know this question is coming, is coming, and ask good questions. All right. So I have a document here on how to do that as well. So when they say, and you can find this document in the interview scripts section over here. When they say, do you have questions for us? You want to ask at least 2 insightful questions. Okay. So like, for example, if you're doing the software engineering role or whatever, you could be like, have you guys started exploring any new technologies with AI? If so, what are they? What coding language do you guys use and why? Have you thought about using ABC instead of XYZ? Right? Whatever. You just want to ask insightful, creative, curious type of questions. You want to ask at least 2 of those. So, for example, when they say, do you have any questions for us? Yes, I actually have 3. You ask 2 insightful ones, and then the final one, this is where you sell yourself. You say, I know we've only chatted for a few minutes, but based on our conversation, my experience, and the projects that I've shared, do you have any reservations about me coming on board? Then you pause and you wait. Okay? I'm just giving an example of how you want to ask this, but you definitely want to ask it, okay? Because it's important for you to know if they are concerned, what they are concerned about, so that you can address those concerns. Does that make sense? Because they may be concerned about something. They may feel like, yeah, you have great experience in the real world, but I'm a little bit concerned that you don't have this or this or this. You want to know that so that you can address those fears that they may have, okay? Another way of saying this is like, hey, Elizabeth, I know we've only chatted for 30 minutes, but I'm really excited about this job. Do you have any questions or concerns about my experience? Pause. Okay. So find the way that you want to say it, but you want to say something along those lines. Now, if one of them hesitates for whatever reason, you can say this. One of them will be like, well, you seem like a great person. It seems like you got some interesting experience, but I'm not sure about XYZ or this or this or this, or I don't know if you have this experience or whatever. You say this. I understand. However, I've learned what it takes to succeed in this role from real world experience and education. In fact, I read a book on this role prior to applying because this is the job that I want and this is where I want to be. Pause. That's a very attractive answer, right? Not something that a lot of people do. And even if you don't have the traditional experience, they will start to become curious because they're like, man, is this applicant that went above and beyond? What kind of impact are they going to have at our organization? This is how you want to be perceived, okay? So you want to be prepared with that question. Now, when you say that, they'll be like, sounds good. We'll keep you posted. Great. When can I expect to hear back? They'll say around Tuesday. Awesome. Well, I really enjoyed this experience and I hope to hear from you on Tuesday. You want to ask this close question to every single interviewer you talk to, from the recruiter all the way down, even if it's 10 interview steps. I don't give a shit. You ask them, just say it a different way. You hear their concerns, then you reassure them that you can do the job. You don't want to give a copy and paste answer like the one I just shared. Say something else. Say something that you learned from the book. Use the language from their job description. If on their job description, let's use the example of GoPro, they say, well, we need someone that's independent, creative, and can think on their feet. For example, you could say, total valid. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm very independent. As you can see, I'm proactive when it comes to building projects based off what I've shown you. I'm also highly creative. And in my free time, I spend a lot of time reading books on how to be a better photographer, new technologies, and how to merge these two to craft an amazing customer experience. Something along these lines. Do you see what I'm saying? So you combine the job description wording with what you've done and merge the two. Now, after you're done with every single person that you interview, you're going to want to send them a thank you email, just restating what you guys talked about and why you feel confident you can do this job. You don't want to sell, but you just say something like, "Hey, Elizabeth, I really appreciated our time earlier today. I'm super excited about GoPro and what you guys are doing when it comes to XYZ." Again, we're assuming that she told you something about their future plans. So you take that, you bring it back into the email. "I'm confident I have what it takes to succeed in this role, and I'm excited to hear back from you." Something along those lines, right? You can go a little deeper, you can go a little bit simpler. It's up to you. This is kind of a personal opinion I've learned over the years. Feel free to use ChatGPT or just look up some good examples online. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but you definitely want to send a thank you email, okay? And then finally, when it comes to salary negotiation, my advice is to use these three websites: salary.com, indeed.com, and glassdoor.com. You can use other websites, of course, but the idea here is that you want to find whatever the lowest range is and the highest range, and then ask for the one in the middle, okay? Because you've never done this job before, right? According to them, but you have real world experience, and that, my friend, is valuable, and they know it's valuable. Plus, when it comes to salary negotiation, the point where you have the most leverage is during the negotiation stage when you get hired, not later. So you want to maximize your opportunity here. So I would suggest you find the different ranges for the salary, and then ask for the one in the middle. Okay. All right. That is the exact process that I've taken on 3 separate occasions. Now, if you want this document, check the link in the description. Subscribe if you're new to the channel as well. If you found any of these tips helpful, I would appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Of course, I can't cover all of these topics in depth, but this is high level what I've done, and it's worked out well for me. And I hope it helps you get the dream job that you want. Do not be discouraged ever if somebody says we need experience. That's bullshit. Okay, I'm living proof of it. This is the framework. You have it now, and I hope you feel empowered. And if you want to stay up to date with content I create around communication, charisma, and confidence to live a better life, subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date with the next video I'm going to push out. All right? You guys take care. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.